Hey, my friends. So I want to make a few comments about the Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas shooting that happened Sunday night. First of all, heartbreaking. Words can't describe the horror that the families of the victims are going through, with nearly 60 killed. And I'm sure, unfortunately, that number's probably going to go up with those who are critical, over 500 injured. There is a lot we don't know yet, but we're learning new information every day. I don't necessarily claim to be an expert, but I have a perspective because of my knowledge and experience with Bible prophecy that is different than the mainstream media. But before I get into that, I simply want to say I am praying. And when I say that, I don't mean it loosely, for the families and the victims. And I think we should all do that. As President Trump said, America comes together during times of crisis, and we need to continue to do that. I've been in contact with some of my friends who pastor churches there, and one of them did respond that they're fine, their people are fine, but you know how a city like Las Vegas is, it draws people from everywhere. There were people there from California, from Canada, and it's an international tourist attraction, so there were probably many people there from overseas, many other countries, etc. But this is a situation where the deep state is trying to control the narrative. The establishment's trying to control the narrative. And of course, Trump is running against the current of the deep state. The deep state meaning the old order establishment political elite who despise the fact that he got elected. And again, this is not about Trump, but I felt like his speech that he gave was excellent. He even quoted scripture and talked about prayer, etc. And of course, he'll be criticized for that. But looking closely at the situation, there is a lot of speculation about different things. One thing that the mainstream media is not focusing on, of course, as they often don't in many terrorist situations like this, there's actually a Reuters article. And Reuters, as you know, is one of the biggest news corporations. They've been around for decades. So it's actually a Reuters news article. I believe it's Reuters, that's how it's spelled, that they claimed to speak with some Islamic State people. I don't like to refer to them as officials because Islamic State is a terrorist organization, a Jihad. They are claiming responsibility for the situation. They claim, these spokespeople for Islamic State claim that this man that carried out the shooting converted to Islam 3 or 4 months ago. They said a few months ago. And while he doesn't have a lifelong Muslim background, now, is that true? I don't know. It could just be propaganda and them wanting, Islamic State wanting to claim responsibility for it. So you can't trust terrorists, so they lie. It could be true. There are so many very crazy, strange things about this. And this one video won't allow me enough time to comment on everything and do it all justice. We all know that the narrative is he was on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel. That appears to be true. But before I leave the subject of Islam, Reuters is the only major news agency that I know of that's talking about this. There, of course, there are then commentators who have picked up the story. It was a link on Drudge Report, and Alex Jones has talked about it, and I'm sure there have been others. But I'm saying those who put out articles, Reuters, I don't know of any other major news agency that actually put that out. The story, from what I understand, originated with Reuters. But most of the mainstream media especially the more liberal ones like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, etc., they're not talking about that. I don't know if Fox even did. So that's huge. If it's true that he converted to Islam and they were using him as a tool for revenge, for our presence in the Middle East, perhaps going back into Afghanistan. Consequently, when you look through that lens of Revelation chapter 6 and verse 8, where Islam is identified in the Bible as the green horse, Muhammad's favorite color was green, that's their official color. We know Revelation 6:8 is the green horse, we know it's Islam. The rider of the green horse was death. So they have no limits on how they will carry out their acts of jihad, whether it's flying airplanes into buildings, mowing down people with machine guns, like this situation, strapping bombs to their bodies, blowing themselves up in public places. Having said that, if that's true, that he converted to Islam and that he was used as a puppet tool of Islamic State or ISIS or ISIL to carry out this act of jihad, I wouldn't put it past them to do something like this. There are many other factors, such as witnesses. Several witnesses have said there was more than one shooter. And I even listened to the police audio of the communications between law enforcement, various departments, saying they were getting reports. They were having people tell them shooting, yes, was coming from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay, where the windows were broken out. We've all seen those videos and pictures, but not there only. Also, possibly the 29th floor. I even heard the 15th floor and possibly the 10th floor. Again, those are things yet to be established. I'm sure they're looking at all those. But we've also heard that there were witnesses who said they believed there were shooters on the ground level, somewhere not far from the crowd. So all these things factor in. I would imagine that they're investigating every possible angle and looking at everything. This investigation, obviously, with multiple departments, will go on for a very long time. Again, our hearts are broken for the families who are still grieving and will be grieving for a long time. You suddenly lose a loved one unexpectedly like this. There are many stories of heroic acts, not only from law enforcement, but who did things such as who were there. Many of them were off duty. They're at the concert, who then, while the crowd was bowing down to try to avoid the gunfire, some of them, from what I understand, stood up to protect others, to possibly try to divert the gunmen. So all of these things are being looked at. We obviously need to continue to pray. But I wanted to specifically focus on the prophecy angle because most mainstream media, especially the more liberal ones, are not going their narrative. They're told, they're given directions. Don't put any emphasis on any Muslim involvement because they always try to be so politically correct. They're always afraid of offending any religion, including the Muslims. And that's part of what Jesus said, that in the last days many hearts would fail them for fear. And fear, understandably. If I was there, I would have felt, everybody there felt fear. I can't imagine what they felt, what was going through their minds. It's beyond belief as the worst shooting massacre in U.S. history, surpassing what happened in Orlando at the Pulse Club. So we need to be vigilant and continue to look at the situation through eyes of compassion, continue to pray, but also to understand that this is a situation that has a huge prophecy angle, and not forget that unfortunately things are going to continue to get worse before they get better. I love and appreciate all of you. Have a great day.